So here in the Hebrides, it's at kind of the end of the Gulf Stream. So the Gulf Stream, which travels from west to east across the Atlantic Ocean, it carries a lot of food and a lot of nutrients up in the current, and then it kind of hits the west coast of Scotland, and it's just a huge area where it just accumulates because it just hits Scotland, it all comes to a stop. And then that's why we have a lot of whales and sharks which come to migrate here to feed on that zooplankton. The basking sharks, they come here to feed on all these zooplankton, this specific kind of zooplankton called copepods, which are very, very small, little things with two little antennas. You can see them just a couple of millimeters wide when you're snorkeling. It's really cool to snorkel in amongst them and then just think that like a huge basking shark can just come along and eat that all up.
So around here we have seasonal seas, so in the spring with the increase in sunlight and sea temperature, it brings lots of nutrients from deep water and creates a big bloom of plankton, which creates a big food web, bringing food for things like sand eels, which would feed seabirds, but also feeds basking sharks and mackerel, and then dolphins eat mackerel, so we get lots of marine wildlife here comes in the summer, so it's a very productive area.
There's lots of reasons why we think Scotland is important, not only because of its fantastic ecosystems and the biodiversity here that we're very, very proud of in the UK, but also it highlights the potential to be able to map these really kind of remote places. I'm Claire Gwinnett and I'm a Professor in Forensic and Environmental Science at the University of Staffordshire, and I am here in Oban in Scotland to kick off the project CSI for the Ocean. This project is about using very simple methods, but nevertheless being able to extract the microscopic particles so that we're able to actually get good, robust counts. So the real key to success in being able to understand microplastic pollution is huge data sets. And the only way to get huge data sets is to be able to get as many people involved as possible. And the real way to do this is to harness the power of citizen scientists, because we have got a lot of very motivated, enthusiastic people who come on eco tours or just want to understand what's going on in their own back garden and in their own lake or local water resource. And we want to be able to empower them to be able to gather the data. And we believe that is the goal to a global data set. We make sure that we're filtering onto something called, it's like a cellulose filter paper, and it gets all of the particulates down to 6 micrometers. And the reason why that's important is there's lots of methods out there that actually only collect particles 300 micrometers and bigger. And we now know that in our environment, the vast majority are smaller than that. So this takes it really down to that really small range.
Things over the years, we collaborate with scientists doing projects, so the good thing is we are out in the field all the time, and some researchers can only afford to be out every so often, so we can gather things every single day. That can range from sightings and numbers and photos and videos to study behaviour, but we also do things like genetic sampling. We've been recording parasites on sharks for papers, and lots of other different collaborations, so everyone that comes on the trips kind of contributes to going along with that, and it's really great. We've been involved in a number of scientific papers over the years, so really doing some cool work with that. We're not like full-time scientists because you have to run the business and things, but it's great to have those collaborations, so we can do a bit of both.
What we would love to see is many more eco-tour organisations, and those who are just recreation, even just using boats, to start using these methods and uploading the data so that even if they only ever do it once every time they go out on the boat, they will be contributing to this large data set. And that's what we want to see in the future. So the more we can understand about sources of them, and that could be different types of clothing that we're wearing or different activities like how we wash our clothes and where they might be accumulating or from different sources, like whether this is urban or suburban or even recreational activities, then we can start giving that information over to those people who can make a real change. And that's not just government bodies, but that's also those who manufacture items such as clothing, or also things like washing machines and dryers to improve filters, better, more sustainable packaging, and like end of life of different plastic products. You can only do all of that if you've got the data to be able to support what's happening out there in the environment. So that's what we're trying to do.
At the moment, one of their main threats is potentially their food sources affected by sea temperature, which is increasing due to sort of climate change, and they're moving northwards, so potentially they may need to be moving northwards as well, changing their migration path as their prey items move as well. Hopefully we're reducing the amount of threats that they have and their population recover, and after the hunting can continue on into the future.
It's kind of amazing to think that one of the largest animals, or one of the largest fish in the world, actually eats one of the smallest animals in the world, but that is how it works. And now they are protected. They're protected in most countries. They're protected in Scotland for sure, and hopefully over time they begin to recover and the numbers come back to what the old records used to be from fishermen that would say that you can avoid them on the water. I hope one day we see them like that again. I've always been interested in the ocean, I've always been very passionate about it, and I love Scotland, I love the wildlife here, so it's an incredible place to work, it's an incredible place to build a lifestyle and to see the ocean and see the life.